I have been flying with the red ring set at this mark. This is the setting to fully optimize the polarizing effect. So I got here the all new filter pack from Freewell. This is for the Mavic 3 Pro, by the way. Guys, the filters are huge. This is the polarized filter for the Mini 3. And this is the Mavic 3 Pro's polarized filter. Check out the size difference. Now in this episode, I'm gonna test them out. Not that satisfying.
Oh yes, that one is
Right, so what's up fam, Rahim here. Now that's Chase. So this channel is about drones, tutorials and tech stuff. So if you like that kind of content, do subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any. So in this episode, I'm checking out Freewell's new filter pack, which is the all-day 8 pack. So just a quick disclaimer, this is not a sponsored review. I have not been paid to say anything about these filters, but I have been sent this set to test it out and have my opinion on them. So what I want to test out today is, I already know how NDs work. They're basically like shades for the camera, but now these filters have a polarizer effect to them. So that's why I want to see how the image will turn out end of the day, and also I want to know if having these filters, will they give any gimbal issues. Let me just tell you what these filters are and why I use them. So the Mavic 3 Pro, like many of DJI's drones, will come with auto and manual camera settings. If you're like me at certain scenes that you'd want specific camera settings where you'd want to set the exposure to a certain fixed exposure, I give you an example. In the case that it's widest open, aperture 100 ISO and then shutter speed of 1/60 on a bright day like this, it's gonna be very overexposed. So that's where the filters come in, right? Now let me tell you how I do it, right? I'm not the most competent in the calculations part, but all I'm gonna do is actually set specifically 100 ISO, the widest open aperture or whatever aperture that I want it to be, and then the shutter speed of 1/60 because of the 30 FPS. Then I'll just actually add on the filters in front and test it. Okay, if ND8 gives me an overexposure of +2, then I'll add on the ND16, then ND32, 64, so on so forth, right? Depending on what is the exposure you want for that given scene. Generally, I'll try to stick in that neutral exposure of 0 or up to 2/3 the way. +1 is just a bit too bright because sometimes in an open environment like this, you may have overexposed the clouds. It will be too white that you cannot recover. If you're trying to lower it in post, now that's just gonna be very bad. The clouds will just look too overexposed. So try to keep it in their neutral range and a bit plus 1/3 plus 2/3. Okay, that's the max I will go. Oh, now it's getting too bright. Yeah, Rahim needs a lot of light, but not that much. Okay, so now anyways, what is in the box? These two sets, all in their own specific hard case, right? Total of 8 filters, some instruction manual about, you want to know more, you can scan about the tutorials here, and also you will have a lens cloth. Okay, so while I've been trying to film and have had many takes, Chase already flew 2 packs. Now it's my turn to fly, right? Let's go. This first flight will be without the filters. Currently the exposure settings are on auto. You can notice that because it is a bright day, the shutter speed seems to be fast. I say this because the footage looks rigid because of the absence of motion blur, which would give it a more natural look. Taking shots with the sun in front of the camera, a lot of light is reflected off the water surface and this gives it a lot of whiteness and the sea just lacks that color depth. As I turn the drone around and the sun is out of frame, reflections of the sky then make it impossible to see through the water surface, and this in turn doesn't give any depth to be seen along the shore. So now I'm just gonna swap in the ND polarizer. It's as simple as an anti-clockwise twist to release the old glass and just clockwise twist the new filter in and it will click in place. Have the ring on the mark for maximum polarization, and here is the difference. I have my shutter on the correct setting following the 180-degree shutter speed rule. I'll put a link in the description if you want to learn more about that. So as the drone flies forward, this is where I can get more motion blur in. Here is a comparison of the shots on auto versus with a preferred shutter setting. I especially love reveal shots and it's absolutely a must for me to get this kind of motion blur, especially for a more cinematic look. Taking this follow shot in the same angle where the sun is in front of the camera, the difference is night and day. Reflections on the water surface are significantly reduced and the scene is much richer in colors. In the same scene as earlier with the sun behind the drone, this is where having a polarized filter lets you see through the water surface along the shore. Okay, Rahim takes a lot of time to pack up. The rain is coming, so I'm gonna get going. Alright guys, I'm gonna give you a summary of what I feel about these filters back in the office. Alright, catch you soon. Eish, did not get to test the UV and ND 1K 2K, but never mind, I'm just glad that the gimbal did not have any issues. Didn't see the camera dip or any vibrations in the footage of the flight. Now if your drone is having any issues with filters, you will expect to see like vertical fluctuations of the footage, and eventually you will see a like gimbal overloaded prompt on your screen. This would be caused by having a filter that is just too forward heavy and making the gimbal work too hard to keep the camera up. So now on the topic of weight, these are the different weights of the various types of filters in the kit, with the ND polarizer being the heaviest at 8 grams. Since we did fly with the ND polarizer earlier, I just call it NDPL. So it's safe to assume that the lighter ones should not be giving the gimbal a hard time. So we got other filters in the kit too. Let me just quickly share about what they do, and afterwards I'll go deeper about the NDPL filters. I got here the UV filter, which as its primary job would be is to filter the UV rays, but personally I don't see the difference in the video. I usually use UV filters for protecting all my lenses, especially my video camera lenses. So since this is already in the kit, you might as well swap it out, use the UV filter and keep your stock glass. Now as for the ND 1K and 2K filters, I'd want to use it for long shutter exposures in creative photography. Best used for static time lapses where you'd want a lot of motion blur effect. Now that I will test it out and share it with you in another episode, so do subscribe so you don't miss it. So now let's talk about the main star, which are the filters having this red ring. There are 5 in the kit, and what I have here is just the circular polarizer, whilst the rest are with various ND grades. I have been flying with the red ring set at this mark. This is the setting to fully optimize the polarizing effect. Now actually, you can turn this ring in either direction to reduce its effect in the scene. At optimal setting, you get to fully see through water, but in the creative sense, you may just want to reduce the reflections and not fully remove it. So best practice is to point the drone at the flight direction of your scene, adjust to taste and then send it. As a rule of thumb, the maximum of maximum effect is when you have it set in its optimal setting and you are pointing the drone at 90 degrees away from the sun. So let's say the sun is here, that's where you point it in either direction. The water will be the most see-through and then the sky will be at its bluest. So that's just a tip for you. Do test out what fits your flavor. To note that the circular polarizer alone has an ND effect and would lower exposure by 1 stop or -1. So let me just wrap up this review with the finer details of the filters. The machining on the aluminium frame just says quality, with smooth edges and cutouts to further reduce its weight but still maintaining the integrity of the frame. Fits perfectly on the Mavic 3 Pro's camera, and the black anodizing reduces any chance of color tints within the filter frame. Turning the polarizer ring has a firm feel and has no signs of oil leaks anywhere. I can see that the glass does seem to have been optically treated, so do care for them with a proper lens cloth and solution. Normal tissue or serviettes are abrasive by the way, so avoid them where you can. Clear markings on the filters make for easy selection, and the foam in the case is nicely cut out to firmly hold the filters in place. The magnetic case is also a nice touch. What I don't really like is that they have included a UV filter, where it's one of those things that if I needed it, I get it separately. Not having it could have slightly reduced the price of this already expensive kit, but then again, if having to buy all these filters individually, even excluding the UV filter, I'd guess that the overall price would have been way more. So I definitely recommend you getting this complete and well-made kit, especially if you want to be creative and get more out of your Mavic 3 Pro settings and features. I'll put links in the description if you want to learn more about them. They are affiliate links, which will give me a cutback of the purchase, and in turn this will support the channel and keeps me driving to make more content just like this. So check them out. And guys, with that, I'm gonna wrap it up right here now. If you've liked this episode, do give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not already, chat with me, I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Pilots, as always, I'll see you in the skies. Peace!